Hello everyone and welcome back to Timberborn. This is episode 18 on the road to 1000 beavers. In the last episode we established a fun area for all the beavers. We have quite a few things that have been set up. We have the dance hall plus the agora, and you can actually hear them in the background a little bit chanting. Plus we have some campfires and some mud baths set up here. Plus we have a few of the rooftop terraces. And then we also have an area where we do want to go ahead and place the water fountain. And with it being day 2 of cycle 24, you can see the water is starting to return. We just finished a drought, and so now with the water flowing through here, we are going to have this water pump turn back on, and then it's going to start filling this area up. That is going to allow the water to return to this area, and as you can see, we are completely out of water over here. We do have a couple water pumps over here. I don't think that we want to have this be the main area where they collect water in the second district. Instead, I want to figure out some other place for them to collect water. There is the reservoir we have in our first district, and that is actually almost completely empty. And when I say completely empty, I mean just all these 4 water pumpers can't reach it. We do have this lower level that is actually pretty handy. It allows the beavers to access the water below this level. And so if we want to get something set up that is similar to this one over here, we could go ahead and utilize this, although maybe it won't be the best idea. At the very least, we could work on expanding this. In fact, a fun project that we could do would be to have it actually go over top the spillway. It would take a little bit of rearranging, but I think we can go ahead and fix this. Now, I don't know off the top of my head if the water levels go above this one block. I don't think they do, but just to make sure that we don't have any water backup, or bad water I should say, I'm going to shave this down a little bit and then expand it sideways. So we'll probably go ahead and increase the channel width right here, and then we can get some overhangs, and then do something like this, and then put some impermeable floors on top of that, and then we'll have some walls on either side. And we might also need to increase the amount of mechanical fluid pumps that we have, because I don't know if we'll be able to fill this whole thing up with just this one. It looks like we also need to go ahead and attach this right here. And so if I want to get a second fluid pump set up, I am going to need to have some of the power shafts go along here. But I don't want to have them build them one at a time because it'll take a little bit longer, so we're going to make some platforms that go over top, and then we can place all the power shafts underneath here at once, and then those power shafts will connect into a second mechanical fluid pump. We'll need to go ahead and blast out a little hole right here like we have for this one, so there's an intake area. And the only downside with this is that it is going to be having some water pumped out of the system before it goes through here, so we won't be able to generate as much power. But overall, it is producing just under 1400 power, so we won't be able to fully power both of these. They'll be running at just under 100%. But worst case scenario, we can always add some more water wheels either down this way or upstream as well. And so we will be placing the fluid pump right here, but first we're going to go ahead and get the power shaft set up. We also need to make sure we have some stairs here that are temporary just so we can go ahead and reach all the power shafts. We want to make sure we high prioritize the stairs. That way they don't trap themselves under here. And then at the end of the last drought, I did notice that we had a bunch of trees over here that were starting to dry up because all the water evaporated out of here. What I'm going to do is place some small pockets of water on the side. It's not going to be a whole lot, but it will give a little bit of a buffer. And as you can see, we have the Fountain of Joy that has been constructed. So now if we go ahead and take a look at the beavers of this district, their well-being is all the way up to 45. I can't remember exactly, but I think their well-being was something around 18 to 20-ish just a couple episodes ago, so we have dramatically increased their well-being. Overall, all the beavers of this world are at 32. Let's take a look at the other districts and see how they're doing. The Beaverland Hills district is at 22, so not quite as good as the first one, but overall they're doing okay. And then we have our third district to look at. They're only at 16. They're not doing quite as good, so we should probably focus on getting some well-being points for them in this episode. It looks like we have a few showers over here, plus we have a couple of the rooftop terraces and some of the campfires. That's not quite enough, so let's see some other things we can do. The contemplation spot is an easy one to add in. We can also add some decorations in back here. And then we have a few storages over here. We just need to go ahead and add in some stairs. Then they will be able to access them. I do want to have some sort of zip line over here so it's much easier to get to here. And as you can see in the last episode, we were working on getting this little zipline hub set up. And so it is going to take a little bit of resources to get that constructed. Looks like they are a bit short on planks in this district. We only have 5 at the moment. And another thing we were working on in the last episode was getting some power all the way from the Beaverland Hills district to here. Looking at it from this angle, if we go ahead and lower the terrain view, and then we keep going down, you can see that we have a good amount of power shafts that have been set up over here. And so they've probably gotten halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way, but we are making some good progress. It looks like we have plenty of workers who are sitting around in this district. One thing we can do is use some of these unemployed beavers, and then maybe even some of these haulers who are sitting around to get a mini production facility set up. We can get some power wheels set up, plus we can get some lumber mills set up. And so this is going to be a temporary solution. I do want to use the power transferred over from the Beaverland Hills to this district, but for now there is plenty of wood in this district. We just need to go ahead and actually get some lumber mills set up. So we'll place a few of these lumber mills down, and then we'll get some of the power wheels set up. And so we have 8 more jobs that will be established. We have 4 unemployed beavers, plus we have 8 workers in here with the lowest priority job. So they should hop out of here and into this. Once these are all constructed, we'll have to make sure they are prioritized by haulers. And then with all these trees and all the wood in this district, it should not be a problem to start feeding these production facilities. We will want to make sure that we have all of these high prioritized. And then hopping back over to the first district, it looks like they made all the power shafts that they need. The last thing to do is get the fluid pump set up, and then we just need to make sure that we have it set to water exclusively and not also set to bad water. Unfortunately, this doesn't seem like it's actually filling up a whole lot. This should be set to closed, which it looks like it is, but maybe the water's just draining out of here. I haven't actually been paying attention a whole lot. The water should only be going through here. These floodgates are... Let's go ahead and just close them completely. I guess we'll have 0.9, so there's a little bit of overspill. I don't think that should be a problem over here. I am a little confused as to why this whole thing is not really working. We honestly might just be pumping too much water out of here. We can pause this one for now. We have 2.3 thousand water in total for this district. We do have one of the smaller water pumps set up, so that should be some water for them. And then now we have 2 of these established. This got constructed really quickly. But with the 2 that should be enough to fill it up, we'll take a look. We are on day 5, so it's a little concerning this hasn't started to fill up yet. Although this is the first cycle that we have not had the water feed in from over here all the way around to this part of the district. So it's going to be a little bit of a unique challenge. And so we have not unlocked the impermeable floor yet. We can go ahead and do that and then have that set all along here. And so now we have the first half of the aqueduct that we have set up right here. Once we get that established, we can also go ahead and start working on this side. We'll just need to make sure they can actually get across. And so the workers of the Beaverland Hills will work on this. So we can go ahead and check back in on that in a while. Let's go ahead and look at the district of Bavaria. We do have the tree farm that I set up quite a while ago. It is ready to have some trees planted. We just need to get some fluid dump set up first. And looking at the food production in the district of Bavaria, we have a lot of potatoes that have been fully grown up. We just haven't had a chance to collect them. It looks like we're completely maxed out on potatoes. And then in terms of the food that is ready to eat, we have also been maxed out on basically everything. So we have enough food over here. What I want to do is actually go ahead and remove this farm. This one has been inconsistent since, as you guys have seen, this area has been drying up during the droughts and bad tides. And so we don't really want to go ahead and waste the beavers' time over here since we have plenty of food production in the new area over here. So what we're going to do is go ahead and actually remove all of this to be planted. And so there's lots of beavers who say they can't do anything. We can go ahead and shift it so they prioritize harvesting. And then we don't need to have them actually plant any more crops over here. And so then hopefully by the end of this wet season, they should have picked everything and everything should have grown up. Then we can go ahead and remove these buildings. And then we might want to do something a little bit different with the area over here. Maybe we go ahead and remove all the dirt. Maybe we put something else in this area. I'm not quite sure yet. It looks like the water levels have been increasing over here. I do hope that it starts to fill this reservoir up decently quickly, since we are on day 7, probably about halfway through the wet season, because it might be that this whole reservoir facility is undersized in terms of the pumping capacity, because before we were able to utilize the water flowing around and into this area, and so that was happening naturally without any mechanical means. But now that it relies exclusively on mechanical water pumping, it might not be enough. And then hopping back over to the 3rd district, as you can see, they've constructed quite a few things over here. We have almost all of these zip lines constructed. They require some planks, but they've all been completely maxed out since we have a lot of these lumber mills up and running, which is fantastic news. In fact, they actually have a small surplus of planks at the moment. We will want to make sure we have some more storage facilities for them. And so I think it's actually worth getting some underground piles set up. These do require a bit of resources, but while we're making planks, I think it's a good place to go ahead and store them pretty efficiently. The large piles have to be above ground, which is just not quite as economical. And so we are going to set up some more of these storages. For now, let's get some of the basics covered. We want to have some carrot storage, and then also some gear storage, and then probably some grilled potato storage. And then we'll only set up one of these large underground piles for now. Seems like we have a decent amount of log storage at the moment. I want to make sure we have some good amount of plank storage, since I do think, yeah, we have another underground pile over here. This one's completely maxed out in terms of wood, so we have plenty of wood in this district. If we wanted to, we could always fit another underground pile somewhere over here, but for now I think we're totally fine. Taking a look at our underground power shafts, looks like we have a lot of stuff established. We don't actually have the path connected quite yet, and then we do need to place some more power shafts down. And so we have another zip line set up over here. It'll make access to the storages a bit easier, and then we can always add a second level of storages. So we have the small platform that we can then have some stairs offshoot to the left and right, and then we'll probably have something similar in terms of this storage system. We'll have probably some platform set up so we could add a second level and then a third level on top of it. And as you can see, the beavers are immediately utilizing the zipline station. And let's go ahead and detonate all this before we have any beavers walk through here. But now the beavers should be able to fully access all of these storages as soon as they construct this last set of wooden stairs. And as we're about halfway through day 10, it does look like this is starting to fill up a decent amount. We're over 2 blocks high, and it seems like we're making some good progress. And then the water levels over here, it seems like they have leveled out pretty well. We are dropping a bit in water, unfortunately. So for now, we can go ahead and turn on one of these smaller water pumps. We have a couple of them. We'll leave this guy off for now. Although, you know what, we can actually go ahead and pause both of these and then turn this one on. But we just need to reduce how many beavers we have working in here. We'll start with 1 for now, and then we'll adjust accordingly. If this is dropping pretty quickly, then we can know that we'll need to increase this to 2. And then if we shift over just a little bit, we do have a bunch of trees that are growing up over here. We need to make sure that the water is irrigating this area. We are still utilizing the water flowing in naturally over here, but what I want to do is go ahead and block this off and then get a fluid dump set up. And then this little area does lead to some underground caverns that we set up. So these little 3x3 grids are what irrigate all the trees. And then if we zoom out just a little bit, we are on episode 18, and my goal by episode 20 was to reach 500 beavers. Looks like we have just under 400 occupied beds, so we need to make sure that we can fill those all out. Only 2 of those are in this 3rd district. We can go ahead and add some more of the housing over here. And so as we add the housing, we'll want to do a few things in tandem, including getting some more well-being things established over here, like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode. And the beavers' well-being is starting to increase. We put quite a few things down over here. We have 4 more sets of houses. 2 of them are the triple lodges, and then 2 of them are the regular lodges. But then we have a few more rooftop terraces and an additional campfire that are going to be set up. But I was also thinking about it, and over here we placed in a bunch of dirt blocks. We do have a hollow space under here. And then I don't think it would actually be that difficult to get some underground water shafts set up. So we can go ahead and fill this up naturally and get a little bit more green space around here. And then that will also allow us to expand our farm. Looks like we have quite a few jobs that are unoccupied in this district, and so we will not unpause this just quite yet. With these new houses, we should have some more beavers populating this district. And then I also released a post a couple weeks ago that was talking about a name for this 3rd district. We had a few repeat names, so let's go ahead and try and get a good name set up for this 3rd one in this episode. Comment down below what we should name this 3rd district. We can be creative with it. We have already used Beaver in the title for a few of these. So let's get something a little unique for this district. And then looking back at the district of Bavaria, they've done a good job of clearing out most of the crops. Looks like we have a few more carrots that are still ready to be picked, but we have also been maxed out on carrots for a while. So we can go ahead and delete one of these farmhouses. And I am super pleased to see that this has almost been completely filled up. And I just noticed that we have a drought approaching in 1 day. I did not even notice that earlier. But thankfully it looks like this whole reservoir has been filling up pretty quickly. They are unfortunately still dropping in water. We might need to go ahead and bump that up to 2. which that is going to suck through this water a little bit more. And so I do suspect that this whole area is going to dry up once again. I think that most of the crops over here are actually going to be totally fine, since we do have this beaver-made irrigation area, and then most of these channels are deep enough that they do hold some water even once this level evaporates. And then the only downside of having a second reservoir over here is that it's going to be a little difficult to get the water from this level either to this area or to this one over here. We might need to have some creative solutions, but I don't think we'll be able to fully fill this reservoir up or even construct this reservoir in today's episode, but that will be something that I try and focus on in a future one. For now, I'm trying to get some of the infrastructure set up over here. It looks like we have 415 beds that are occupied. We have 19 that are not occupied, so we have 434 beds that could potentially be occupied, and this district contains 5 of them. Hopefully they'll go ahead and fill those up in the next day or two. And then in the Beaverland Hills district, we do have 7 beds that are unoccupied. We should probably focus on some of the well-being for this district as well. They only have 22 well-being points, which is only half of what the Beavers of Bavaria have. It looks like we don't actually have that much access to wet fur. And then we're missing some social life things for them. We could probably squeeze in some more contemplation spots and then get some more aesthetics for them as well. And then this monument looks like it reaches a good amount of the beavers. The farmer one just does not reach quite as much. I think we can go ahead and fit one right up top here. And that only costs wood, and we have a lot of wood in all the districts. And then honestly, I think getting some shower set up right here would be perfect. Since we have a fluid dump right here, this is always going to be filled up. And we actually have some unemployed bots. So we can go ahead and switch that to bots and then get some showers constructed. And you know, this might actually be a perfect spot to get a fountain in. It's going to be a little tight, but if we remove a couple of these showers and then also rearrange where some of these medical beds are, then I think we should be able to fit it in. Let's go ahead and take a look at the District of Bavaria as the template. We really just need a 3x3 grid in order to place down the fountain. I think that it actually overhangs the 5x5 outside ring, so that should be feasible in the second district. It is certainly going to be tight over here. I think we might need to bump the path over just a little bit. We go ahead and remove this. And then in terms of the water pumpers, we bumped it up to 2. Looks like we've gone up just a little bit, 1.6 thousand. And the reservoir is still decently full. I think we're only a day and a half into the drought so far. But overall, it looks like we're in a pretty good spot. This is a big boy. We're going to have to do some more rearranging. We have some storages up here. Honestly, we probably shouldn't have these so close to the housing area. I think we should probably get some storages somewhere over in this area. Although actually, we have some over here. We have plenty of space to add in more. Looks like we have a good amount of scrap metal storage in this district, so we can go ahead and remove this one. Treated planks, on the other hand, we only have 187. And so this is the main storage. Let's go ahead and get another couple piles set up over here and then transfer those over there. And then dirt, we are also doing good, so we can remove this one as well. And so we are going to do something a little unique. We'll go ahead and remove this fluid dump, and then we can place down some dynamite right here. We'll have some stairs go down, and then we'll set some tunnels underneath this area. And then what we can do once we have detonated this, place some stairs down, and then put the tunnels in, we can get a fluid dump set up right here, pointing in this direction, and then it will fill this area up. At which point that will put all the water that we need in here. Oh no, is the zipline actually the reason we can't fit this? I kind of think that it is. That is unfortunate, but we might be able to get around it by just simply elevating the zipline station. We might need to also raise up the zipline pylon as well. Oh man, I think there's no way around it. Let's go ahead and actually delete these connections, and then we'll need to do some diversions. And so at this point we're doing a lot of rearranging over here. I'm going to take a step back and then reorganize, since I'm trying to cram stuff in, but realistically we want to make it a little bit more aesthetic, so I'm going to probably just completely rearrange this whole area. And so I'll see you in just a minute after I figure out what I want to do. Okay, so we have done a bit of rearranging. We can go ahead and squeeze in a fountain of joy. We're going to have a couple of the zipline stations right here. We move them around just a hair. And then we can also fit some showers in over here, which will give the beavers access to wet fur. And then we'll still have a little area that we can get the fluid dump set up in order to feed the water to this whole area. It looks like we're about halfway through the drought. We have 3 days left, and the water levels have not dropped that much over here. And so I think it's safe to go ahead and bump up the amount of workers we have in this water pump, since we are still dropping in water a little bit. But it does look like at this point we have finally had the water start to flow out through this sluice. Since I think evaporation has taken a little bit of a toll over here, we can go ahead and fully close this. We don't need water going into this area. In fact, I do need to still close this off, so let's go ahead and remove this set of wooden stairs and then get a couple more of these dirt blocks placed down. And fortunately, it looks like we finally got rid of all the food over here. So we can go ahead and remove that guy, and then now we can start thinking about what we want to place in this middle island. And it looks like we are completely out of power over here. I don't think we've added a whole lot of buildings in the power system recently, but our gravity batteries are just not quite enough to keep up with it. Oh my goodness, we have 47 unemployed beavers in this district. Even with all these builders' huts, there are still not enough jobs. It does look like also that the water levels have dropped significantly, so now we're actually not able to get any of the benefits of this Fountain of Joy. Oh, and we are starting to actually run out of scrap metal. You can see these guys can't actually access this last piece, since we need to place some stairs, that way they can reach it. But the next steps will be to access these underground ruins, and to do that we need to get this mine established. It takes quite a bit of resources, lots of treated planks and gears and logs. We have very minimal treated plank storage. We have some gears, and then we have plenty of logs. We need to go ahead and get some more storages set up. We can perfectly fit 2 sets of piles over here, and it looks like we have some unemployed beavers in this district. We have a couple of jobs that we can squeeze them in, so it will be very helpful to get this mine set up. We can get some beavers working in here once this is built, and then this will be the perfect candidate for getting a zipline station set up. Let's see which one of these we can reach. This one will be perfect. In fact, we can also have this one connected over here in case we need to start exporting some more of the scrap metal. The beavers of this district crossing will be able to hop directly over to the scrap metal source and then grab it. But if we add this job in, it is going to be one of the more dangerous ones, so we're going to need to have some more medical beds at the ready. And it looks like the beavers' well-being has gone up. Let's see if the Fountain of Joy in the Beaverland Hills district has been constructed. It looks like it is fully up and running right now. Let's make sure that we have water feeding into the system though. With those stairs eliminated, we can now fit in that fluid dump. We have just under 1 day left of the drought, and it seems like the water is starting to drop a little bit faster. That is almost certainly due to the fact that the sluice is open, but overall things are looking pretty good. We still have a good amount of food in reserve, so many potatoes. And so even though we eliminated this farm, as I suspected, we still have plenty of food available. If we prioritize this zipline station, that should make this construction go a little bit faster, since they won't have to walk all the way down in order to start putting the resources into this mine. And then with us having 44 unemployed beavers in the district of Bavaria, clearly we don't need to add any more houses here. I think we need to go ahead and add some more to the Beaverland Hills district, since you can see we have 8 vacant jobs, and fortunately we freed up some space over here, so this is a perfect candidate for getting some more housing. We'll place down some of the triple lodges, and then let's make sure that we can get some more fun stuff for the beavers over here. The contemplation spots and the detailers are both good candidates. Oh, and we can also choose what patterns we have. We'll have some of these green trees looking things, and then maybe some of the crops as well. And we have just finished the current drought, so we are on cycle 25 now, the first day, and overall we're in a pretty good spot. With one more episode before we reach episode 20, I think we're on track to hit 500 beavers. We have 430 beds that are occupied, and then we have 31 more that we can still fill up. But that means we have 460 potential beavers in this world. We only need to add a few more beds, and I think we should be good. And then a quick recap of what we did in today's episode. We officially cut this area off from irrigation, so now it is exclusively being irrigated by this fluid dump, although it might not quite be enough. Let's make sure we switch this to bots, and then we can also prioritize it by haulers for now. If it gets filled up, we can go ahead and rearrange that. And so we added in the Fountain of Joy monument over here, rearranged some of these buildings in this area, and then added some more housing. As you can see, the detailer is working hard on this little baby beaver's tail, and so they're getting some cool prints set up. We are in the process of expanding our reservoir. We might need to add a third pump in order to fill it up, but we still have to actually go ahead and get the boundary set up first. This third district has made some good progress. We have a bunch of storages set up over here, plus we actually have some plank production, which honestly I think that was the limiting factor for the growth for this colony for a while. And then it looks like we did just finish constructing this mine. We have 10 beavers in here. We still somehow have 3 unemployed beavers, so there is potential for getting some more jobs set up over here. And then we've slowly been making progress in setting up this underground power shaft system, but we are just about at the point where we need to either go underneath this river of bad water, or we need to go up and then go across the river with a bridge. Personally, I'm leaning towards the bridge option, but we also need to make sure we have an area set up for the production, and right now this area can't hold a whole lot of buildings, so maybe in the next episode we focus on getting this area constructed, and then make sure we get the site prep established. So if you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and hit that like button. It really does mean a lot to me and it helps the channel out tremendously. And be sure to leave a comment on what you think the 3rd district should be called. I'll give a shout out to whoever leaves the best name, and be sure to leave a comment down below. And with that, we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.